So, questions for the Vice President candidates. Who would like to ask the first question to one or both of the candidates?
Can I quickly ask my question, because I've got to go in about 3 minutes?
Yes, no problem. On you go.
My question is to Alan. He says that, he formed 5 new clubs since he started term. How come, as UHISA rep for HTC, have we not been told? I have not been told about this, as the college reps have not been told about these clubs, because surely the clubs are for every person within UHI who is affiliated within UHISA, who is anybody who is a UHI student. So how come, as a rep, I've not been told about them, so I can then streamline this down to my students that I represent?
Thank you for your question, Claire. Alan?
That's a good point, and it's I could look at that as a mistake that I've made. I haven't contacted all the reps from the different campuses to say these are some new clubs, pass this on to your students. So I'm quite happy to admit that's a mistake I've made. I've been trying to put an onus on the people who are running the clubs, and the clubs that are already going and the clubs that have been started. The way I see it is the students should be bringing that forward and opening up to people. Every single club is open to all students. And there's no reason why you can't join. Now with their new website, it's even easier, because you go onto the website, you sign up, using your student email, and as soon as you find a club you like, you click join, and you're now a member. And it's as easy as that now. And the person who's in charge of that group can see where all their members are from, and they can tailor things to make sure that everyone's included. That's definitely something I'd take on board if I'm re-elected. Trying to involve the student representatives from each college more in pushing out these clubs and societies. Yeah, that's it. It's a good question. Thanks.
Thank you, Alan. Claire, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Thank you very much. Okay, who would like to ask the second question then to one or both of the candidates standing for Vice President? Another question for the Vice President candidates?
Hi, just a quick one to Alan, and maybe a follow-up from Heidi on the same thing. Alan mentioned at the start that the awareness of UHISA was quite poor in his eyes. How much has he done to improve that over the year he's been in office?
Hey, thank you for your question, John. So it's to both of them, but initially to Alan.
Yeah, Alan first, and then Heidi, if she can say what she would actually do to improve as well, if elected.
Okay, thanks, John. Alan?
Yeah, it has been quite poor from what I've seen, and I have spoken to students who I've said, do you know about UHISA? And they've said, no, what is UHISA? I'm trying to improve that by getting an online campaign and obviously enhancing clubs and societies. The more clubs you have, the more chance there's something that someone would like, and you try and get that out there. An idea I've had that I've just started doing is to have open forums, and that way there's going to be an open forum on a certain topic. So the first one coming up is actually on Thursday, and it's on the independence referendum, and it's about getting people in to talk about something, and hopefully from that people are engaged with UHISA, and it spawns further club societies. And even if it doesn't make more clubs and societies, it gets people talking, and it's one of those little events that I was talking about. You get people in a room together, and all of a sudden ideas start flowing. This is a campaign question time, and already I've had an idea from that previous question. Maybe I should speak to reps more, and that's something I'm going to do. And these things come from little meetings like that. So I'm going to hopefully have these forums over the next, every sort of 4 to 6 weeks, and there'll be a slightly different topic on each one, and hopefully it'll engage students, and these students will start getting involved in that. I hope that answers your question.
Thanks, Alan.
So just to counter that one as well, how do you propose to get the word out on the forums? I've not seen anything in particular that's obvious that these forums are happening. Maybe I'm not reading the right boards and so forth, but that's...
We're trying to use Facebook to put it out. There was, on the UHISA Facebook page, the link was shared to the website. If you now sign up to the new UHISA website, which is the same address as the old one, www.uhisa.org.uk, you can sign in and register, and all the events are available on there. So you'll see it on events. from there you can book. You click book to book your ticket. It's a free event. You don't have to pay, and all of a sudden that's you in. And then you've got all the details of all the room numbers. We're trying to see about getting other manners of sending the email out. Maybe getting an email out giving the link to the group that people can join. But we have to wait and see about that. It's only certain kind of emails can be sent out. So we do have problems when it comes to engaging with students, and it is tough. And I'm going around, I'm hopefully going to make some posters about the event. I've been going around my local college trying to speak to people, and I've sent an email out to the executives, so all the representatives from each college should know about this event that's happening now. So, if there's something else we can do to help try and promote this, tell us, because that's what we also need at UHISA, is we need your ideas and your feedback to let us know. If we're doing something wrong, tell us, and we can hopefully try and fix that.
Thanks, Alan.
Yeah.
To answer your question, John, I was going to take your first question to Heidi about improving the awareness, I think it was, of UHISA and student engagement with UHISA. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Okay. Heidi.
Right. Something actually that Luke and I were talking about with some of the students the other day is the red button. Everyone knows where the red button is when you sign in as a student. Well, I think everyone should know. It's quite obvious. So could we not have a red button for UHISA? Could we not have a red button for have you joined a club or society? Do you know what kind of clubs and societies are out there? Because I too was a bit discouraged when I went around to some campuses and found out, people didn't know what UHISA was. And I think because of my American accent, they kept thinking I was saying housing, and they were all asking for houses. Which is funny, but it's not good for UHISA. So I think we just constant exposure. Facebook is a great tool, it absolutely is, but we are assuming that everybody still is on Facebook. And for mature students and well, I know several students in the class, with my class alone, are not on Facebook, so we shouldn't assume that can be the only way to get the exposure. I know as Vice President, we don't have as much time as we would like to go out and meet people, but I think you have to somehow try to find the time to meet people, to really shout from the rafters, look, this is what UHISA does, this is our aims, this is our goals, and you can better your student experience by getting a part and becoming a part of UHISA. And I just think being more visible, posters are great, but do people read them? So it's maybe it's my brash Americanness, but get in people's faces, make people aware of really UHISA is only going to enhance and better, and we got to make that very, very clear to everyone. But I would love to see maybe a green button for UHISA on the front of the website. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I like the idea of a green button, actually. That sends the right signal out, doesn't it?
That's great. Thank you, Heidi, and thank you for your question, John. Another question for the two Vice President candidates. Rachel?
It's been touched on a wee bit in terms of engagement. I was wondering how, because clubs and societies is the majority of the remit, how would you support students setting up a club and society? Because you could have a student based at SAMS which doesn't have any networked modules. So a student based at SAMS that, for example, wants to set up an independent society, and then you've got a student in Orkney that wants to set one up, but they don't know each other. They don't know that there's somebody else out there wanting to do that. How can you link them together to initiate new clubs starting, not just to support them once they're ready to form?
Is that question to both candidates, Rachel?
Yeah.
Alan, I think you had your hand up first. We'll go to you first.
That goes back to what I was earlier saying about having these open forums. You have an open forum based on a theme that people can come in. The sort of disadvantage with that in response to the question is that there is a running theme. So for instance, the next one is upon the referendum and independence. So that's kind of that theme. So if someone comes in saying, I want to start a skiing society, I'd have to speak to them separately and say, look, that's not quite the forum for that. Another one of my ideas is actually to have, the equivalent of like a member of parliament surgery, so there'll be maybe every fortnight, there'll be a period that's the same every single week, or every single fortnight, sorry, at the same time, where at least one member of UHISA will be available via video conference, via Facebook chat, via email, via telephone, where someone can just drop in and say, look, I've had this great idea, or this isn't going that well, or I'd like to do this, I'd like to do that, and it can be noted and taken forward. And it's all about recording this and keeping it, so that if I know there's one person here and one person there who need it, I can bring them together. And that's one of the challenges of being vice president, is trying to find these people and bring them together. It is tough, because if you don't have the networked lectures, you can't actually meet those other people. But that's where I come back in on the whole events thing. That's where these ideas come up with. When I got nominated for vice president in the by-election and for president in this election, every single person who nominated me, I met at student council in November at one event. And that's how you make your networks. So events, more clubs and societies is going to increase these chatting.
Thank you, Alan. I think that has answered Rachel's question. So we'll move on to Heidi to answer the question. Heidi?
Yes, I think Alan's got some great ideas. I think forums are great. I strongly feel nothing beats personal interaction. But we also have this wonderful technology that hasn't been around forever, and I think we need to get campuses on board to make VLE available for finding these students and somehow connecting them through VLE. They can do it through classes. We can obviously speak to people all across the board this way. And Facebook, again, wonderful, but I think if you're on campus and you have a passion at your campus, there's got to be 1, 2, 3, 10, 20 other people amongst the campuses that have that same passion. And I know linking is hard, and I know I'm quite idealistic, but I think events, again, I absolutely agree with Alan. Events are important. I think feasibly, no, we can't get together every week and be in each other's pockets and have parties and have a good old time and have great family feeling. But if we planned events and we know they're coming up, it should be a priority as vice president to make sure that as many people know what is happening and find out what passions lay out there and link these people up at the events, and then be a part of encouraging an ongoing relationship, so that they didn't initially have one meeting and then it didn't go anywhere. But I think we need to tap into the resources we have within our own campuses through VLE and get people working together that way. I think VLE, sometimes people don't tune in as much, but if you got someone there, using Alan's example, that wants a ski club, and he knew there's 20 other people on other campuses that want to start a ski club, that they can bounce ideas off each other, I think there's encouragement in that, and there's empowerment in that. And I think we need to find out if there's a way to do it. I've got ideas, I've got passion. I don't have all the answers yet of how to make it happen, but I'm certainly willing to try to investigate if elected and do the best darn job I can about building these bridges and making these clubs be UHI wide, and getting people connected. That answer your question, Rachel?
Thank you, Heidi. Rachel?
Thank you.